create and how awesome it looks when it's finished. I have with me today Lindsay that is manning the keyboard, making sure everything goes smooth as silk, as always. If you have any questions, just let us know. Take a minute here while everyone's logging on. Let us know where you're from. Appreciate any comments that you have. And I just got back from a week on the lake with my kids and grandkids. Had a wonderful time. It's really hard to come back to work after having a great week away in the fun and the sun. So let us know if you have any summer plans coming up or what you're doing that's exciting this summer. It's just absolutely beautiful on the lake. And right now it's cold in Ohio. So I don't know what the temperature is where you're at, but it was, 42 this morning, Lindsay?
In the 40s, yeah. It was cold. Someone turned off the heat.
Yeah. My dad always said this was blackberry winter. So we've probably got about a week of this, and then we're going to get back into real summer weather, which is I'm always cold, so I love it when it gets nice and toasty warm.
So we have Sharon joining us from up the road.
Hi, Sharon.
Who was mowing her grass yesterday with earmuffs on.
Mowing with earmuffs on.
Yes, we saw that, Sharon.
We thought you should wait until it got warmer out.
Janet from Kansas.
Hi, Janet.
Linda from Alberta, Canada.
Wow. Hi, Linda.
Sharon from Tucson, Arizona, where it is 109 there today.
Oh, my gosh. That's hard to imagine.
But it's a dry heat, probably.
Yeah.
Right? Isn't that what they say about Arizona?
Yeah,
it's a dry heat.
It doesn't feel hot, but yeah, I know you're a little bit toasty.
Linda from San Diego.
Hi, Linda.
Anne from Missouri.
Wow.
And Phyllis from Northwest Ohio, who was here for our little store event that we had.
Oh, yeah. We had a group of ladies in last week, and it was wonderful to see people's faces again. Really miss that.
Jenny from The Office.
Hi, Jen. Get back to work. No.
Who also means Papa John is in the office.
Okay, so speaking of Jen in the office, tomorrow you may want to tune in. Jen and Lindsay have their at 2 o'clock? 1 o'clock.
1 Eastern.
And they're going to reveal the Christmas Unwrapped. It's shipping out Friday.
Well, it's actually shipping now.
Okay.
We've started. We've got a lot of
We don't work Friday, so we're kind of jumping ahead.
And we don't want the mail lady mad at us, so we ship them in spurts.
Break it down so she doesn't have to bring her trailer.
Yeah. Jen said Dad is not working in the office.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So she's able to get her work done?
No, he's just sitting there with his feet on the desk is what he's doing.
Oh, okay. So.
Okay. So you ready to get started?
We are ready. I think you're going to love this faux rust. And, can we show one more thing? Okay.
Well, I got to flip the camera anyway.
Yeah. Okay. This is a new project that I just finished up. I thought it turned out really, really cute. Fun, quick and easy. It's a great Christmas project. It's pretty good size. Is that 14 inches, Lindsay? I'm not good at lengths.
I don't remember. 15 3/4.
Oh, yeah. So it's pretty good size. It makes a nice piece for Christmas. Easy to paint up. And it has all these layers, which you guys know I am crazy about the layers because then you don't have to trace and paint around anything. So if you're looking for a really cute, fun, quick, easy project that would make a super great gift, Reindeer Treats is now available. The pattern and the wood pieces, and also, as usual, we have a bundle on that as well. Okay, let's get down to a rusty business here. I have my surface that I have base coated black. And you remember rusty tin pieces were the rage a while back, and everybody had rusty tin. Well, then it got a little bit hard to find rusty tin, so we had to either do without or create our own rusty tin. And this was a surface that we carried that was black, but I wanted it to be rusty. So I did create the faux rust background. Turned out absolutely fabulous. And it's so very easy to create this. So I wanted to do the background and show you how simple that is. I just have it base coated black. I'm using 4 different colors of paint: raw sienna, light cinnamon, burnt umber, and soft black. So these are all kind of those rusty, deep colors. I think, and you can see they go from kind of light to dark. As long as you have that nice range of shades of brown, I think you could actually recreate this rust look very easily. Also using a sea wool sponge. Now there's different kinds of sponges, but the sea wool you can see has these bigger openings, and it's going to create a looser, more open texture. If you get they're called silk, the texture is much tighter and smoother. You're not going to get the texture that you're looking for to create this. This is damp. It's not wet, but it's very damp, and I can form it. So I think finding the sponge that works well for you, it's just like Goldilocks and the Three Bears. The texture is not too big, it's not too small, it's just right. And I like something that I can kind of crumple up in my fingers, and I kind of ball it up so that it sort of kind of mushrooms out a little bit, and I have a nice head on it, or round part. And it's going to be easy for me to work with this. It's not big and bulky. If you have a great big sponge, you might want to take a section off. They have sponges that are synthetic that look like this, but they don't work like this. This is very pliable and very bouncy. Is that a good word, Lindsay? It's just springy. So I'm going to start out with raw sienna and light cinnamon. I'm just squirting out a puddle on my palette. Kind of like my puddles to be rather close together. This is such a very loose technique. It's not fussy. You don't have to be really, really careful. Just going to crunch that sponge up in my fingers. And I'm going to take the top of the sponge and just dip it down into the paint so that I have it double loaded. Just going to tap it a little bit on the palette. Now, if you smoosh it too hard, you're just going to get a dark blob. So I'm going to have a light touch, and I'm going to gently rotate my wrist just a little bit so I don't have the same repetitive, and I'm just touch, touch, touch. So I don't want to go like this all the way across. I'm going to lightly touch this way and kind of pounce it around. And I probably should put a paper towel underneath because I'm going to get this table just really messy. Okay, so I'm just very lightly touching and turning. And this is being very patient. If it becomes too dry, I have this distress sprayer, which is wonderful. And the difference between this, I don't know if you can hear it, it's just like a psh, psh. It's not a heavy spray mist. If you get the little bottles from Walmart or the kind that you use in your laundry, the spray is much heavier and you're going to get a very, very wet surface. This is just a very gentle mist, and it lightly covers. You can see how that's really starting to look pretty cool right now. And I'm going over, I don't want it to dry out. If you're working on a big area and you're in a climate, and I'm reloading often, you might need to work in smaller sections. I want to keep that crunched up so I have a tighter head on that sponge. Otherwise, it's going to be too spread out. And you can see how that really starts to look really textured. And already I'm kind of loving the look of it. Now, when it's a little bit misted, the small amount of water will help diffuse and soften that texture. So if you don't want it as prominent, you can mist it lightly and then just keep going over it until I have a little piece of something there. You can go over it until you're satisfied with the results. Already, it just looks really nice. So you could leave it at that. But we're going to take a little step further. I'm trying to get rid of those really kind of dark areas. I'm going to get you just a little bit more colored. It does use a fair amount of paint. So don't try to apply it until the sponge is completely dry. See, I can really start to add that color back in those areas that didn't have much on it. Okay, so that's a nice covering. Just going to take my sponge and rinse it out in the water basin just to get that bulk of color out of it. And the moisture in my sponge, I usually take a paper towel and just kind of crunch it up in a paper towel to get rid of all that excess moisture. And I just have enough left that it's just about right. I do still have some color on my sponge, but I'm going from this lighter color to a darker color. So it's going to be okay. If you're going from darker to lighter, you definitely need to clean that out just a little bit more. Let me give this a quick dry. If you try to apply another layer over top of this, if it's not dry, you're just going to pull it up and it's going to become blotchy. I had some wood that I wanted to match up to a marble around our fireplace. And I used this technique and I just picked out the colors that were in the marble and I just kept adding layers of color and it turned out absolutely beautiful. You cannot tell that the wood trim was not marbled. So this is a technique that you can use to create, depending on what colors you use, just a very beautiful background. And it's very easy. It's not fussy. It does leave a little bit of a texture. You can lightly sand it. I have that little piece of string in there. Okay. So now I have this nice, and I probably could leave it at that, but I want to take it another step further. So I'm going with soft black. Again, I'm using that same 2 puddles of paint side by side and burnt umber. Make sure that is soft black. Now I had that black background, which is still showing through a little bit, but I'm going to go in and what this will do, it's going to richen those colors and create more of a soft, solid piece of metal effect. I'm going to mist that just a little bit. And dip the sponge into it so that I have the 2 distinct areas of color. And I lightly tap it because I want to know I don't have, when you dip and go over, you might end up with a big blob of paint, which will be a big blob on your surface. So I'm not tapping it to blend, I'm just tapping it to soften and disperse those paint colors out just a little bit. And we'll go over here and start adding that next layer.
That soft black almost looks like lamp black on the camera. I'm like, I keep questioning it.
I need very dark. A little more burnt umber. Again, keep that tight grip on that sponge so that you definitely have a good grip on that. Keep that texture tight. I'm going to move this over. I'm getting a little bit. This soft black is a little bit softer than the lamp black, obviously, but it really brings out that deep, rich texture. And you can see how that blends that down and just becomes really beautiful.
It really looks like, when you see something rusty, like it's always rough, and that's what it looks like.
It gives a beautiful
very
texture.
raised and roughed and rusty.
And you can easily control the depth of the texture. I can add a little bit of moisture on there to soften that down. Just love how this is turning out. Got a little bit of light. It goes down to a little bit of dark. I just think that's amazing. And honestly, you have to agree, it really didn't take much time at all. It's not a technique of talent. You just look at it and say, I need more of this or more of that. And just lay that back in there. I think I'm going to stop. I think I like that really well. Pull this white out from underneath. Isn't that beautiful? I'd forgotten what a pretty background this creates. And if you put this next to a piece, if you have rusty tin, this will look no different. Oh, we've got one. Well, yay. Okay. Okay, look at this, you guys. This is like almost, this one's a little shinier, but honest to goodness, it has the same texture and the same effect. So if you saw this and this, it doesn't look much different, does it, Lindsay?
Mm-hmm. I mean, of course, the one on the left has a finish on it, like
yeah, this is
clear coat, but.
So if you're looking for a unique background to put behind something, if you want to create that antique vintage sign and just put lettering on it, this is a beautiful way to create that look very easily. What did that take, Lindsay? About 15 minutes?
Not even that.
Yeah,
maybe 10.
Such a great way to create that look. And I just absolutely love it. So again, we used, I'll lay this on there, it's not quite dry, raw sienna, light cinnamon, put that on, and then the burnt umber and soft black. It's just that easy. These deep, rich colors. Light touch, light tap, damp sponge. Don't be too over aggressive because it's just building those layers up to create that beautiful effect.
Virginia says, wow, you can't tell the difference between that and that.
No, you cannot. And what's kind of cool about rusty tin, if you actually look at the piece, you're going to have lighter areas and darker areas. So you can go back and really like add some texture to the edges. If I took some black and I just wanted to kind of enhance those edges and make those a little bit darker, I can go in with some deeper, richer colors. It's not finished until you decide you are finished with it. So you could go shade the outer edges and it would look just as great as well. So that takes something from this to this, creates that beautiful background very easily with just a simple sponge. But what happens if you want to add rust onto a painted object? And I created, this was kind of a fun piece. I really enjoyed painting this. I wanted to create this vintage truck look. And I have rust on the truck and I have rust on the bumper. And I was trying to figure out how to paint that on. But you know me, if it's going to be something that's difficult, I'm going to figure out a way to create it and make it look really cool without having the struggle and the stress of trying to figure out hours of adding that on there. So on this piece, I used raw sienna. And if you watched my palette knife video, if you haven't seen some of the other videos on my channel, Create with Chris, you need to go in and check them out. And while you're in there, make a comment, give me a thumbs up, subscribe, ring the bell. Interaction is always good, and that will keep those videos coming. So I like with acrylic paint, if you're working with a thicker bodied paint like acrylic in a tube or oil paint, you'll probably want to go with a heavier palette knife. But because the acrylic paint, and I love Deco Art, it's just a really saturated, strong based acrylic paint, but it's compared to the tube paints, it's very thin. So using a very flexible palette knife, whether it be metal or plastic, actually I find the plastic ones, the inexpensive ones, work probably a little bit better because they're even more flexible than the metal knives. And I'm going to use that to just add that little bit. I'm going to put this over here so you can see the effect. Add that little bit of rust. Now, to load the palette knife, let me flip this over a little bit here. We'll get a clean space. I'm going to go in with raw sienna, and I'm going to squirt some out. It's all about loading the palette knife correctly. Too much paint, you're going to have a blob. Not enough paint, you're not going to get much results. So it's just pulling that through the puddle, and I like to wipe it down a few times. It's almost like almost nothing on the palette knife. You can see the green through that. Does that show up, Lindsay? You can kind of see the green through the knife.
Kind of blurry, but yeah.
And then just kind of smear that on. And you can see that rust. I'm going to go with light cinnamon to make that show up a little bit better. I should have went with a lighter gray. See how that creates that look of rust? And I always, after I load my palette knife, I always wipe it down on my palette to get that thinner, smoother result. And I can put it just about anywhere I want. And I just keep going until it's rubbed off the palette knife. And even then you'll get a little bit more. But what if I want just like in a certain place? I may just load the tip of my palette knife with a little bit of paint. And I'm still going to smooth it out so that I just have a fragment on the bottom. And then I can go in and I can be just a little more specific about where I want to put that little bit of rust. So I can go in and just really hone in on a small area and just put that rust in there. Rust is kind of cool because it doesn't, what's the word, evolve evenly. So it can be randomly applied, and it's going to be much more effective than if you're very carefully putting it evenly all around. So using the palette knife, you kind of have to let go of your control factor and just load that in there and just let it kind of create that look of rust. It's a great result. With the rust, you can add as little or as much as you like. And what I did on this truck when I was adding the rust is that I just went over the whole truck a little bit, and then I stood back and looked at it and thought, okay, that looks good. I'm going to go back and add a little more. So instead of working all the rust in one place and then going back, I kind of added it everywhere. And then when I went back, I added more. It makes it a little more evenly random, if that makes sense. So that it creates that look of rust evolving just very naturally. I love the way this turned out. I just think it's beautiful. If raw sienna is not a good color, light cinnamon works well. Red spice is a good color. Any of the rusty burnt orange. And a lot of it may depend on the color of the background. You can play around with different colors, but all of these look like rust. So if it's applied and it's not quite strong enough, maybe you need to bump the color up. If it's too stark, maybe bump the color down a shade. Very easy to manipulate, very easy to control, and the results are fantastic. Do we have any questions on that? I think this is something everybody needs to try. I know using a palette knife is not a decorative painting tool, but I really think it should be, because you can create all of those awesome effects with it. And I even thought about on this rusty background, you know how sometimes you get that little bit of a, you know me, I'm on this aqua blue kick right now. Just putting a little bit of aqua in there to kind of make it look a little verdigris rust with a little bit of that. Is that tin that has that little bit of green tint to it? I can't remember my chemistry and results on that, but
You mean, shoot.
yeah, I'm making a list.
Copper?
Does copper rust? I don't think copper rusts.
No, but doesn't copper turn green?
I've seen rusty pieces with a little bit of blue on them. Yeah, copper will age with green. So if you want to age copper, this would be a great way to add a little bit of that tone in there as well.
You got me Googling it now.
Yeah, Lindsay's got to find the answer out. She's my trivia gal.
Stainless steel can. Bronze.
Okay, bronze.
Yeah, because the Statue of Liberty turned bronze. Yeah.
Okay. So hopefully this will give you some ideas.
Patina. That's it. Yes.
Thank you, whoever said patina.
Sharon.
Thank you, Sharon. Painting is where it's at. I'm not good at chemistry. Okay, so I think this kind of wraps up the faux rust. I hope you give it a try. I just think it's really interesting to add that extra touch to backgrounds, or that extra touch to add a little bit of rust. It just ramps the projects up another notch and adds that wow factor. And I think we're always looking for that wow factor when somebody looks at it and they go, oh my gosh, how did you do that? You know, you don't have to tell them it was really easy. Just say, yeah, I worked a long time on that.
All right.
Get that great result.
Going to flip the cameras back.
Okay, so
There we go.
hope you picked up a few tips and tricks and techniques to make your painting life a little easier and a lot more fun. I hope you try this out because it is amazing. And someone had asked, I think it was last week or a few weeks ago, about how to create rust. So that's how this video came about. If you have questions, how do you do this, that, or the other? Send them in, put them in the comments, and we may do a video on that. I like to do things that people are trying to find an easier way to create. And if I can help out with that, it's what I love to do. And next week, I think, is a class video.
It will be. We just don't know which one yet.
Okay, yeah. I have one finished, but Lindsay said I have to do another one.
I'm so mean.
Yeah, she's a slave driver. Oh my goodness. Anyways, tomorrow the girls will be on with a painting project. Oh no, they're going to do the Christmas unwrap.
Yeah.
So you don't want to miss that. You guys are going to love it. And it is in the process shipping out. If you do want to jump in and join the subscription, it's a 1-year subscription. And Lindsay's putting the link in there. But if you subscribe, you get the whole year, which means that not only will you get this project that's shipping out on Friday, but you'll get the one that shipped out, when was that, March?
Yes.
You'll get March and June shipment. And we're already working on September, so a lot of, I think there's, tell me what's in there, 5 ornaments.
5 ornaments in this box. There is the embellishment kit, a sweet treat, 2 patterns. Am I missing something?
There's a freebie.
Oh, and the freebie, which I think, and the freebie is me and Jen's new favorite gadget.
Yeah,
It's our new favorite thing.
So
So
Yeah. Oh, it's a fun box to receive. There's lots of goodies in it. So it's well worth it. It's a great deal. And Thursday is the Create CD stencils with Jen and Lindsay, our semi-pro stencilers. Actually, we're going to have to change that pretty soon because they're not going to be semi-pro any longer. They're going to work their way up. And we have a special right now at cdwood.com. Be sure to check out. If you're not on our newsletter, go in and sign up for the newsletter. We have a great sale this week. It is the
30% off of your patterns and e-patterns.
30% off. You can't beat that. So you could get
paint from your stash.
Yeah, paint from your stash. Get the new reindeer treats pattern. It's a great deal. So, okay, everyone, have a great week. Thank you for joining us. And remember, a little bit of paint makes a big difference. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.